Joe, welcome back. It is still iBrand Daybreak. This is the point where we get to bring you all the updates as it is happening in the world of sports. And, of course, when it comes to African football, we're talking Africa Cup of Nations, started over the weekend. And Dennis is here to give us all the updates. Hi, Dennis. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me once again. Good morning, Josh. Good morning, Dennis. Yes, another great day to be here.
Is it really great?
Yeah, it's great. It's
for
great.
Nigeria?
It's great. It's great. Let's be positive.
I told you this thing, Dennis. It's so unfortunate that this is how we're starting, and this is how we're starting today's segment on this show. Like, what happened?
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's not forget the fact that this is not the first time that this is happening. I mean, when it happened way back in 2013, it started like this. We started with a draw, and then eventually we went all the way to the finals and, you know, came home with the trophy. So who says that scenario will not play out this time around again in Côte d'Ivoire? I mean, who knows? A lot can happen. But then for the fact that they've started in such a manner they've started off, not a good one though, but I mean, some slack. Injury hit the team prior to the commencement of the competition, and somehow they were still able to pull out that draw against, even though we want to call them minnows, but like I said during the last time I joined the show here, I remember saying that there are no minnows again in football, and especially in African football. And come on, this is one of the reasons why we love African football, full of surprises and all of that. Beyond Super Eagles of Nigeria pulling that draw in the first game, there are other great teams that also played out a draw in their games as well. I mean, the likes of the Black Stars of Ghana losing to Cape Verde. No one would have expected that to happen, but it happened. That's football for you. Yes, Côte d'Ivoire, host nation, started well on a good footing. Good for them. I'm sure they will have their hands full when they trade tackles against the Super Eagles of Nigeria. What about the indomitable Lions of Cameroon? I mean, they are the second most successful team in the history of the AFCON, just a little distance behind the Pharaohs of Egypt. But then they also settled for a draw in their opener as well. You know, so the big names have not really lived up to the big names. Now, that's not really the issue, because other teams are not there to come and play. All the 24 teams that have qualified for, that are playing in this tournament, they are not, there is no debutant among them. All of them have been at the AFCON at one point or the other. Unlike the last edition where we had about 4 debutants in the competition, this time around all of them have always been part of the party. So they are all champions. I mean, even though some of them have not lifted the trophy, but then for them to have made it to this competition, they are all good. So if you're playing, you have to bring in your A game. And of course, let's not forget the fact that it seems it's a season of injury for the Super Eagles. Quite unfortunate, but that is not enough excuse not to have taken the maximum 3 points. in that
especially playing against a team like, you know, the team, I don't want to mention names,
Guinea,
it was really heartbreaking.
It was.
But would you say you expected more from that game?
Of course, I mean, as Nigerians and as a patriotic citizen for that matter, as a sports loving fan.
Dennis, don't even do that. Don't play that card right now.
What would you know? What kind of answer would you expect from me? I mean, I expect them to come, you know, to go all out against Equatorial Guinea and do the damage against them. I mean, for the fact that we are parading the best attacking side in this competition, you know. We have the African Footballer of the Year in the person of Victor Osimhen, who, by the way, you know, did not. Some persons say it was not just his day, on the big occasion.
Some days are like that.
Yeah, some days are like that. You know, there are just some days where, you know, you just come out all smoky, all good, everything is working fine for you. But then for Victor Osimhen, on that Sunday, on a Sunday, maybe the guy did not play very well. You know,
but you know, for the kind of badges that Osimhen has to his name, and then playing in a team like the Super Eagles, you did mention it on this same platform that, you know, when I asked you that question some time ago, why these guys are the best the world have seen in football when they go to their club sides, and when it's time to play, represent the country, it's a whole different ball game. You did mention some things about, you know, quality of players playing alongside. Do you think that's what played out for Osimhen on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, part of it's played out, and those you would have expected, you know, to partner with Osimhen, where you know they were hit by injury. So maybe in the second game against the host nation, which of course the Super Eagles will have their hands full.
That'll be on Thursday, yeah?
Yeah, on Thursday. They just have to bring everything they've got in their tank. You know, at some point in that game, even though they were able to create few chances here and there and all of that, but then even the few chances they created, they weren't able to convert them. So I think being clinical in front of goal was a major undoing in that particular one against Equatorial Guinea. And then the supplies, yes, Osimhen was getting all of the supplies, but then maybe the pattern of play, the tactical input that the coach, you know, brought on board, you know, also contributed to all of that, because some players were also not bringing in their A game on the day, you know, that a lot of Nigerians were expecting them to actually bring in their A game. That also contributed, and you know, it just made it look as though Osimhen was being overworked, and at the end of the day, it wasn't delivering on the afternoon. Not a very good one. We just look forward to an amazing game, I mean, in their second game against Cote d'Ivoire, which of course will be a very, very huge one. Some persons would say this would have just been an opportunity for them to start on a better footing playing against Equatorial Guinea. But then Equatorial Guinea is not a small team, like I said earlier, you know. But the results went the way you know it has gone. It is what it is. 1-1 draw. Our first game in 2013 also started like this, 1-1 draw. Eventually, the second game we also drew.
I like your positivity, Dennis.
No, second game.
I like how very, you know, all fingers crossed, you know, mindset you are. You know, approaching us with this.
Yeah, you know, and in the group stage at the end of the day, we ended up with 5 points. You know, we still went on
which
to,
is good. Which
to
is a
claim
good
the
way
trophy.
to, yeah.
So if we still play out a draw against Cote d'Ivoire on Thursday, I hope some persons will not go for the head of Osimhen.
I feel like that would kind of you know, drive home the point that people have already been making. You know, like we're holding on to life, like we're trying not to. It's like a string now. You know, holding on to it so strong so that we don't lose out. We don't just fall off, and that is not a way for a team like the Super Eagles of Nigeria to start a competition like the AFCON. Josh, please.
Yeah, I wanted to say something regarding what Dennis said earlier, talking about Osimhen's unusual, you know, getting used to the tactical team or the tactical game that the manager brought in. What would you say was responsible for that? Was it that there was no training before then to understand the game of play before the real match? Or what exactly could have gone wrong that Osimhen never understood that tactical team? Or was it the formation that was introduced? What exactly was it?
No, it wasn't that Osimhen, I mean, does not have understanding of the, I mean, the team have been in camp for close to how many weeks in Saudi Arabia, and then they've been training together. So Osimhen is not a new player in the team, you know. Osimhen has always been part of the team, you know. But then, if your striking force is already hit with injury, you have no option but of course to depend on the available players that you have. And I'm sure it's exactly the players that are on the ground, you know, that were available for that game that the coach was able, you know, to make use of. And again, it wasn't just a day that you know, teams could just go the way of the Super Eagles of Nigeria. It is football, you know, it's expected. You know, there are times where you expect your team to come out very well against a team you will say no, they are no match. You know, if you play player for player, team for team against Equatorial Guinea, they are obviously no match for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. I mean, how many of them are plying their trade I mean, outside of Europe, you know, in the Equatorial Guinean team? You know, not a lot of them. But look at the side, the Nigerian side. Almost all of the players, you know, are playing outside of the continent. So the players individually as well, individual talent. Yes, you want to say maybe team play is not really there yet, you know, and maybe that's what they are still trying to. A lot of people will say the coach maybe lacks the technical know-how, you know, to actually bring these players together and ensure that that talent that they have together is properly harnessed, and then they can play as a team and go for the killer whenever they play against maybe teams like Equatorial Guinea, for example. But then that didn't happen on the day. Quite unfortunate.
Okay, but then talking about injuries now, because it's quite a critical issue. When you look at a game like that, the players are supposed to give their best, isn't it?
True.
But then looking at the fact that they're already down the injuries, going forward, could there be a way such can be avoided, perhaps keeping them for that particular game that they want to play in order to avoid having injuries? Is there a way out of it?
football is a combat sport. It's very physical. There is no amount of carefulness that you want to adopt that really, if you have 11 players that you need to prosecute a game, I mean, you just have to use what you have, and you also want result to come your way. So you also want to use your best legs, in a game. And if the best legs that you have are not fit enough,
that means it's not your best, isn't it?
No, I mean, if your best are not fit enough, and the so-called players that are playing second fiddle, I mean, in quotes now, they are the ones that are not available for a game. What do you do?
More like a situation of making do what you want.
Yes, of course, you make do with what you have, and then hopefully you hope that the results comes your way at the end of the day. That's just the way it is.
All right, let's hear the rest of the package you have first.
Okay, so well, of course, there are games that we're looking forward to today. Action will continue as far as the AFCON is concerned. But quickly, let's let our viewers out there know some results so far. Well, the curtain raiser was the one involving Ivory Coast in Group A, same group with the Super Eagles of Nigeria. It was Ivory Coast 2, and of course Guinea-Bissau 0. Nigeria, of course, we told you earlier, settled for a 1-1 draw against Equatorial Guinea. The Pharaohs of Egypt, the most successful team in the competition, 7 titles. Pharaohs of Egypt played out a 2-2 draw against Mozambique. I don't know what you guys are going to say about that.
We'll probably have to talk about it when you're done giving us the stats.
So yes, the Black Stars of Ghana, they lost their first game against Cape Verde, a small island. I'm not sure that country is up to the size of Lagos, or even the population of Lagos. Senegal, yes, they are the defending champions, and they lived up to billing. They lived up to that name, starting off on a good note. Not 1, not 2, but 3-0. It ended against the Gambia. Cameroon Indomitable Lions, they are the second most successful teams with 5 titles. Well, it was a 1-1 draw against Guinea. Guinea that played a friendly. That was the last friendly that Nigeria played against. That's the team that Nigeria played their friendly before the competition commenced proper. And well, a 1-1 draw against Indomitable Lions of Cameroon. Algeria also settled for a 1-1 draw against Angola. That was a late game yesterday. There are games coming through today. Burkina Faso will be playing against Mauritania. That's the first game. It's 3 p.m. Nigerian time. Tunisia, 1994 champions, will be playing against 1994 host, I beg your pardon, we're playing against Namibia. That game is bid for 6 p.m. and the late game is the one involving Mali and former champion South Africa. That's 1996 champion South Africa. That one is bid for 9 p.m. Nigerian time. These are the games in the AFCON 2023 34th edition. Fixtures for today.
All right, it did really, of course, as we round off, Dennis, thank you for giving us that start, by the way. It did really start on a very surprising note, especially for the big names. And when AFCON starts, you almost already know what the first leg is going to be like. You almost already know who would qualify to the next stage and who wouldn't. And it's looking like
with the way things are,
it's looking like we don't. It's not even looking like we already don't know what's going to play out with the the games coming up this new week. Of course, everybody is looking forward to that. So if the games are going like this, hopefully the big names survive it enough to meet at the top. And this final question to you, Dennis, when the likes of the Super Eagles and Black Stars and the Pharaohs of Egypt begin to meet themselves up there, what do you think or see it to be as?
Well, I can tell you for free that it's still too early to call. I mean, it's the first game. And if teams, do not start a competition properly, and then eventually they still go on to win the competition, then you say it's very, very early to call. I mean, Argentina, they won the last FIFA World Cup. We saw how they lost to Saudi Arabia of all teams. Come on now, and then they still went ahead to still win the World Cup.
What you mean? Come on now.
No, Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, because there are things that you look at when you make such statements. Things like FIFA rankings, things like rankings continent-wise, and all of that and all that. By the time you look at
earlier, he said something like you don't look down on anything, something of that nature. But so why you say
here
Saudi
is an
Arabia?
Analyst doing his job and being a professional.
Countries. There are things that countries are known for. If you say global ranking in terms of oil production now, You want to mention Saudi Arabia? Of course. You cannot even place Argentina by their side. But then you are talking football here, and then you are bringing Saudi Arabia and Argentina. Come on now. It's like placing Brazil and Cape Verde, for example, in football.
I mean, that's a very, very improper fraction.
It's like David and Goliath. This kind of scenario.
All right, like we did mention, it really did start on a very surprising note for everybody. I mean, I can tell for free that nobody really expected the turnout of events for games that have come through over the weekend and yesterday. It has been totally very surprising. But of course, as it unfolds, AFCON just started over the weekend. True. We'll continue bringing you all the details and all the updates as we go on. I hope Super Eagles get their act together.
Yes, we are going for the juggler against the elephants of
Dennis, be careful.
We are going for their juggler.
What did you call them?
The elephants.
And
we are the Super Eagles.
Okay, let's see how that goes.
We are flying above them.
Soaring, right?
Yes, we're soaring.
I really do, by the way, seriously. I really hope that the Super Eagles, get their act together. It is very obvious that we're battling with injuries and all that. But I feel like you said, make do what you have and make very good do with it.
And then the players bring their A games.
It's not an excuse. I mean, when you're going to be playing against such big names and people that you had considered small names, and they're showing you shege like this, then you need to know that you need to go back to the locker room and rearrange yourself mentally, emotionally, and physically. I hope we'll get the opportunity to do that. Thank you so much, Dennis, for coming on the show today. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me, as always.
iBrand Break, bringing you all the details as it concerns AFCON and sports. And of course, keep watching iBrand for further updates as it concerns AFCON. Stay with us, do not go anywhere. We'll return with more information.